You're saying is,
Yeah.
because I just said the truth of who you are is what you've done. The truth of who you're going to become is what you're going to do now.
Right.
And that's presence. And that's the liberating part of karma.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of karma being this thing lording over you, punishing you based on your past, it's the future you're creating by your presence. It has not, and again, it has nothing to do with what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you are right now. That's why I said, right now your karmic circumstance is an amalgam of what you've been through.
Right.
Your future is going to be exactly what you do, starting now. And that's going to come through the presence and the awareness to say, what's the best thing I can do? I can, if the things you do now, they're going to ripple into the future. But it always arrives, life always arrives in the form of the moment and our presence. What some might call free will. Again, that's why I don't really look at it like that. We are always choosing. We've always We've always chosen. We've never not chosen. We always choose.
Consistent.
And our life is an amalgam of what we've chose throughout our whole life.
Right.
Oh,
Sorry.
It's okay. And so our future is going to be a result of what we choose now, and the power of that choice, not just once, but over and over and over again. Keep doing these things that we know are right, rather than these ideas we have about it, maybe because of some past, well, I don't do it because of whatever. All these explanations that obfuscate what we're doing. Well, I would do it except, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is still what you're doing. It's in some ways, it's so simple that it gets very complex because it's become so complex. It's actually very simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's always presence. It's always the present creating the future within this gigantic structure that says unalterably that the truth of who you are is what you've done and what you're going to do. You want to evolve and you want to become enlightened, you need to do something different.
Right.
It's going to arrive in the form of a moment in time that's going to be the result of the karma you did before. You're not going to become enlightened next week if you haven't done like pranayama or whatever. I know some people might disagree and say you can call it all in right this second, so don't bother, I get it. But it's not likely. If you do, you might get a glimpse, but it will probably change. Usually it's a result of sadhana and consciousness, especially if you're coming from a place that is not empowering in those routines. That's why we do things like yoga. Yoga is to cultivate sattva, is to cultivate a mind that's still and peaceful so we can have that breakthrough. And we can have that breakthrough many ways, by the way. We can take drugs and have a kundalini experience right now, but it's going to be out of your control. So we're almost, I want to be sensitive that it's been a long morning because we started late. And if people, you can still hang out and ask questions, but I see people are also maybe wanting to have lunch or maybe getting a little tired. It's 20 after 1, so I can sit here, but if anyone wants to adjourn now, you can do that, or ask more questions.
Yeah, so it just makes sense then. I mean, my question about karma is actually the real, for me, it's the real teacher, the real, hopefully it brings it into the light of that dance of desire, action, desire, action.
And what Joy brought up is a great point. And it's really the big difference between Eastern and Western modalities. And I'm not judging it at all, because Western modalities also have a lot of validity. There's people that come to me for astrology readings, and I kind of tell them, you know what? I think you need a therapist. You need a counselor. I think you need to process some stuff. No, it's true. It's not a judgment.
No.
They're different things. People come often to an astrologer. Again, they have all these unprocessed issues, and they want me to validate it or confirm it. And I'm like, you need some therapy. You need to work some of this out and go into this, not have someone confirm something that might be a little bit, delusional at times, at least on a functional level. But the difference in the Eastern approach, though, and especially the reason I want to bring up karma, is because, unfortunately, it is looked at as something that is unempowering. Mm-hmm. And it's completely the opposite. In fact, it says you are completely responsible, 100%. There's no mistake in anything that's ever happened, and the power is totally in your hands. And it must be. And it's not just about the past, it's about the routines in the present. This is why yoga and all of the Eastern models are so powerful, because it basically says, you know, the past is a canceled check. Right now you can start, and in, you know, Swami Shivananda, in 8 years you can be enlightened. You know, it's just like, just do it. Start right now. You're the Supreme
Sign
Self.
up today.
You're the Supreme Self. Doesn't matter what happened. Assert, assert. Don't die here like a worm. I love Swami Shivananda. You're the Paramatman. One more quick thing about karma, just to give a story from my guru, Amachi, the Indian saint. And it's about even like what Joy was saying about how we don't really understand. And I don't profess to understand why everything happens. Just because you can see the karmic circumstance in someone's life. You know, I don't get into past lives and all this stuff, even though there's a whole way to approach astrology that way. I think it's kind of sloppy work. I stick with what's going on in the person's life. But there was I tell the story to illustrate the nature of karma and not understanding why things happen. Amma is a Indian woman. Anyone know who Amma is? She's the hugging saint. She hugs like thousands and tens of thousands of people. Especially in India, there's like, I don't know, she'll hug people for like 20, 25 hours straight. There's this big program in some place in India, I don't remember where, and this old man who was a friend of the ashram, who's very old, like in his 80s or something, wanted to do seva, wanted to do service for Amma, wanted to help out. And there's a lot of things that people can do. They can kind of sit in a chair somewhere and like, I don't know, check something. There's, you know, all of the seva is not difficult, right? And she had this man go clean toilets, which is one of the hardest jobs to do. I mean, literally like this old, frail, 80-year-old man, she's like, have him clean the toilets for a couple hours. And he was a friend. He was like a friend of the ashram. I think he donated. I don't remember the story, but it was like, people were like, okay. And he did, without complaint. He went and cleaned the toilets for a few years, for a few hours or something, right? And people were like, Amma, why did you have him clean the toilets? And she said, by cleaning toilets for Amma tonight, he avoided 3 lifetimes of cleaning toilets.
Wow.
So, I mean, you know, this is a Mahatma who like knows past, present, and future. So, and I mean, he was fine. He didn't complain. He was like, okay, he went and did it. But a being who can see, who is enlightened and who can see into the past, you don't know why they do what they do. And that was one of the rare times where I think she gave an answer. Usually she would just kind of not say anything, but she just gave an answer to someone. And so, again, you know, maybe there was, you know, maybe, I mean, and he was successful. He was like, you know, like a successful older businessman who had helped the ashram, and, you know, saying, Amma, I want to do seva. It's like, okay, you know, stand here and tell these people to go there. And that's like a seva. You could sit in a chair and say, okay, and that's your seva. You'd think it would be something like that. It's like, no, go clean the toilets. Jack barely looked at him. He's like, okay. But you would think, and this was like in India, I mean, if you've seen those programs, it's just like madness to have an old man doing that. But this is an example of the kind of thing. So we don't know why some being would incarnate in what seems like an unfair circumstance or whatever, why a being like Amma would tell someone to clean toilets. When you see into the past, the present, and the future like that, she would never do something like that, just do anything to the man. But, you know, maybe he had some arrogance about his position, or maybe he thought this, so instead of incarnating for 3 lifetimes cleaning toilets, he does it in 3 hours. So, anyway.